So welcome, Max, to the podcast again.
Thank you very much.
So basically, me and Max, we recorded our podcast episode last week. And wouldn't you believe it, we didn't record it. So it wasn't that we didn't press it, was it? The camera
It just timed out.
Yeah, camera timed out. And one of the microphones actually sort of failed, basically.
Well, I thought we had a nice conversation. But nice to catch up with you.
We had a bloody awesome conversation. But no one will ever hear it. We put all the world's problems to rights. But I don't know about you now. I've forgotten what we said. What a shame that the world's never going to hear it.
No.
But this is take 2. We're going to try it again. Hopefully, I'm sure it's going to be as good, if not better, than the first time. So welcome, Max, to the Rokman podcast.
Thank you very much.
Now, some public service announcements before we start. For those of you who don't know, Rokman is a mental resilience-focused running movement for those with a deep desire to push their limits, forge unbreakable resilience, and improve their mental well-being. We provide the information, the tools, and the support to inspire action to overcome the most intimidating challenges in running, fitness, and in life. So the aim of the podcast today is to offer up some insight and information on pushing our limits and hopefully inspire others to go out and push their own limits in order to improve their own resilience, fitness, health, and well-being. If you want to be notified of new podcast release, be sure to hit the subscribe button below. And if you take any value from the podcast today, please be sure to give us a thumbs up or leave us a review. There's no money put behind these podcasts. They're totally free, so we rely on likes, shares, comments, reviews, and subscribes to grow the audience. So any interaction is greatly appreciated. Done. Right, what else we got? So today we are interviewing Max Glover, ultra strength, endurance, strongman, extraordinaire, something like that.
What else could we add to the end of that? Let's just put as many as we can.
Well, you pretty much cover all bases with your challenges, but for people who don't know, who is Max Glover?
Right, so I'm a normal guy basically. Normal guy, but I like to do fitness, gym training, strength training, and every now and then I just do random challenges like tow a car for marathon or carry 100 kilograms on my back for 100 kilometers. I just get these ideas sometimes. I train for them, or sometimes I don't train for them, but that's just the sort of thing I do.
So what was the last challenge that you did?
Well, last one was a 2-mile truck pull, which I think was a world record actually, because I don't think anyone's ever actually pulled it for that far before. But basically we got a truck, we got a massive airfield, just a long airfield, and I just pulled it for 2 miles, basically. But
it wasn't just a truck, was it? It was a 10-ton truck, but...
It was actually an 18-ton truck.
It was actually 18. So explain that to the listeners, what happened there.
Yeah, so I wanted to do a 7.5-ton truck. So to be classed as a HGV, it's got to be anything above 7.5 tons. So I thought, right, let's go with the minimum. It's classed HGV, that's fine. So I wanted to do a pull with that, to raise money for charity. And yeah, so... really struggled to find a 7.5-ton truck, and I put that down to the fact that when I decided to do this challenge, when I first came up with the idea, it happened to be the exact same time that there was a HGV driver shortage in the UK, so I couldn't find anyone to drive the lorry for me.
It's because you were towing all their trucks.
Yeah.
Nothing to drive.
Yeah. So in the end, then we managed to eventually found something, and this was the Friday before the actual challenge was due to start, so I didn't even have a vehicle squared away until like 2 days before the challenge was supposed to actually happen. And it just turned out that it was, well, we were told an 8 to 10 ton truck. And then when we got there, we took a look at it and it said 18 tons on the inside of the chassis of the car. So, of the truck, sorry.
What did you think when you read that? Was there a feeling of dread, or was there a feeling of, right, well, it's 18. What were you feeling, and how did it affect your approach to the challenge?
Well, I just thought, of course this is going to happen, isn't it? Nothing ever goes smoothly, especially with me. There's always hiccups. Something always goes wrong with me. It's just the way it is, and it's always like that. For the whole challenge, while organising it, I had a venue, then I didn't have a venue, and then I thought I had a venue, and then I didn't have a venue, and then it had this problems trying to get the venue, all these problems then trying to get the truck, all these problems trying to do my training, all these things kept popping up out of the way. And then the last hurdle then got there, and it was 8 tons more than what I was expecting it to be.
Brilliant.
It's just what happens with these challenges. Things, they pop up out of the blue. You just do your best to try and overcome them.
Yeah.
I think initially felt like a bit silly at first. I thought, if I can't move this, I'm gonna look like a right fool. But and I did at first fall over a couple of times trying to move it.
How many times, like how many attempts did it take for you to even budget? Did you manage to budget on the first?
No. The first go, I slipped a little bit. It was just trying to find a technique, trying to get the right, because I had a rope set up as well, trying to pull that, trying to get my grip as well. Yeah, eventually we got it rolling.
So these are 18 ton trucks, yeah. Like, to put it into perspective to the listeners, what sort of, how big is that physically, and what sort of stuff are they carrying? Is this like the supermarket trucks that you see delivering all the groceries, or is this like a grit, salt and grit truck or something, or a garbage truck?
It was actually a sweeper.
Sweeper.
So it was like they're full of water. Well, yeah, so they're full of water. They clear the roads, clear the runways, or like airports.
So this isn't like a civilian.
Yeah, you could use it. It's supposed to be the highway maintenance use them as well.
Okay.
But that's why it was at the airport for, was because that's where they use it for, to clear the water off the runway. I don't exactly know how they do it. They must have some kind of jet system or something like that. But it's got a massive tank at the back. It's full of water. So that's what.
Yeah.
That's what the job of that was. So it's not like a lorry. I wanted to do a lorry, but I just couldn't find one of those.
Yeah.
But looking at the weight of the vehicle as well, it's not just that it becomes a challenge. It's also how many wheels it's got, how many axles it's got, because then that can create the friction. So you might find a lorry or like a fuel tank, it might be the same weight, but because they got more axles or more wheels, then it might make it a little more difficult. So it's not a case of just looking at the weight. Those are the things that actually make the difference of how difficult the vehicle pull is going to be. Why
a truck? What was the inspiration behind this? Why have you wanted to take this on? What gave you the idea?
Well, trucks are hard to pull. This is a well-known thing, and I enjoy pulling things in training, like prowler pulls, sled pulls, and I did the car pull marathon 2 years or so ago, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great fun, but see, it's not a hard pulling a car. It is more of an endurance thing. Most people could move a car. Like I could push a car when I was a kid. When like my mum's car would break down, or we wouldn't start in the mornings. Even when I was in primary school, I'd get behind it and give it a push then to push start it. So it's not actually that difficult to tow a car, but to tow a lorry, it requires a lot more strength and power, which is obviously not needed for the car. So it's a slightly different thing. But I think it was kind of a progression from the car pull.
Yeah, so, how did it differ then from the car pull? So you pulled a regular car, 26.2 miles.
Yeah.
And how long did that take?
Oh, a long time. It was about 22 hours to do that, but I wasn't in a rush to do that. We took our time with it, because we had the track for 24 hours. So I said, as long as I do it in 24 hours, that's fine. So I was quite chilled with that one. This one I was in a bit of a rush to do. Because I also did it with the truck pull. I also did it in the middle of a holiday as well. So
people are waiting to go on holiday. They want the runway back, Max.
Yeah, that's
they
it.
Want a 5 to Tenerife.
So I didn't have the runway for as long this time. So I only had it for a few hours. So I had to do it in a lot quicker over time.
And how long did that take?
6 hours for 2 miles.
And that was just 2 miles. So I think that actually shows the level up of this one. So like just for 2 miles. And from what I saw, you were really busting a nut on it. You were really going for it.
Yeah, I was sick a couple of times.
You were sick?
Yeah.
And what was that? Was that a muscle lactate thing, or was it a lung thing? What?
I don't know. It was a combination. It was just full body shock, I think, because it's like you're going all out, and I mean you're all out. It's really hard. Like your heart rate goes up through the roof. You're so out of breath. It's after a few seconds of pulling, and then you stop. And then it was just rest for a few minutes. Repeat, rest for a few minutes, repeat. It was like hardcore intervals, but like really, really hardcore intervals. And after the first kind of few, I'd had a massive breakfast in the morning. That's normally what I do before these challenges. I have a huge breakfast to try and keep me going. I had this massive breakfast, and I could just feel it coming up. And I wasn't sure if I was having a heart attack at first, But so like after each pull, I'd have to go kind of sit down on the floor, and I was thinking, right, just try and rest, bring the heart back down, or try and sit on the mat when legs elevated, try and just take the strain off the heart, because that's what I thought was happening at first. And then it got to about maybe a third of the way through, and I was like, yeah, the inevitable's going to happen. So I went over to the bushes, and I was just throwing up on the side of the airfield. But I felt all right after that. But then I realised then that my whole plan of keeping myself fueled up, which I'd use for the Carpool marathon, you might have seen with the other ones, where the other challenges, I've always kept myself fueled up. I've had a Domino's pizza, or I've had something,
get those calories in,
something to get the calories in. So with this time, then I realised, oh shit, I can't do that now. I'm gonna have to just resort to simple sugars, satsumas. I had somebody had given me some little supplements that I could take as well, just to get on board the calories and the protein from those. So I found them really useful as well, but I couldn't put down any solid food. So that kind of changed my plan a little bit after I threw up, because I thought it's just going to come back up again then.
Yeah.
But I was fine after that, and it felt like it went a little bit downhill after that. So I wasn't too
rolling downhill.
But it was technically flat, but once I reached the halfway point, it did seem easier for some reason. I think maybe there was a very, very slight. It was either flat. I think the first part was 0 to 1% gradient. So even that's a noticeable difference. Maybe 1% gradient at the most. It wasn't up a hill by any means, but there was a very, very. So you could see it when you looked at the track. And then after that, there was kind of a little bit of a dip, but I think it was more flat, or maybe a very, very slight gradient. But it wasn't like downhill. It wasn't like -1. It's classed as flat, but it did make a difference for me in terms of pulling it.
It's funny because I think when people think of endurance challenges, they think of the low and slow sort of endurance challenges, doing 100 miles where you take your heart rate right down and you just go for ages. But this was obviously you were maxing the rev counter every time you stepped up, and you had to do it time and time again. That's a different type of endurance in my eyes.
Well, my heart went up above its theoretical maximum several times throughout that. I think pretty much every single interval, I was hitting nearly 200 or 200 plus beats per minute.
Jesus.
I'm 35, so my heart rate shouldn't physically be going that high. But it is slightly different. But that's what I like about it. I like to pick something heavy or hard, but do it for a long time, rather than, I'm not interested in doing like a powerlifting competition where you lift one weight up once. I've got a lot of respect for those guys who do that, but that's not the sort of thing I want to do. But I like to find that kind of moderate to heavy thing, and then just do that repeatedly for a longer stage.
So I suppose it's not like the strong men, which we discussed last time, wasn't it? So the strong men would pull a truck, but it would be 400 meters or 200 meters or something like that.
100 foot they generally tend to do.
Yeah.
But they're pulling bigger trucks. I mean, they're pulling like 20-ton trucks.
Yeah. You've done some other crazy stuff, and I think the one that I've seen has gained the most exposure was your piano carry. So talk to me a bit about that. How did you come up with the idea for that, or what was it? How did you come up with the idea for that?
Yeah, so that was quite a popular one. That went quite international, that one, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it's because it was so bizarre.
It was really,
you know.
And I think it was the time it happened as well. It just happened in the middle of the COVID pandemic. It was just bad news all the time, wasn't there? And then the restrictions eased a little bit in the UK, and I was just like, right, I need to do this thing now. I've wanted to do it for a while. Basically, got a piano, and I just carried it up my local mountain.
I just carried it up my local mountain,
to raise money for charity. So it was 2 miles in total. It was carried, but it was raised money for charity on that one. But it was something I've always wanted to do. I read an article back in 2006, 2005, 2006, something like that.
A while ago.
Yeah, I read an article about some Scottish guy, Kenny Campbell, I think his name was. So he's an old school Scottish strongman back in the 80s. Apparently carried like a small a church organ. It's a little bit smaller than the one I carried. I think it weighed about 226 pounds from what I remember correctly.
I like that sly little dig there. This is a little smaller than mine. Yeah, don't hold it against him.
No, but he was at Ben Nevis. He carried it at Ben Nevis. That's a high mountain. That's a high mountain.
Okay.
But yeah, like I remember there was a kind of a story where this piano was found, and there was all these people saying, "Oh, we did it." A group of removal men said they did it for charity. This Kenny Campbell guy said he did it, but nobody knows really exactly who did it. I think it turns out that the one that was left up there was a bunch of removal guys, but apparently this Kenny Campbell guy, he carried it down himself. But anyway, this story was in the newspaper, and I thought, that's quite cool. I want to do something like that when I'm a little bit older.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was incredible because the strength I used to think. Yeah, yeah. Well, that was it. When I was in the Marines at the time, so I was fit. And it takes a lot to impress a Marine because you especially when I just passed out training, because you think, I've just done this training. It's supposed to be the hardest basic training in the world. And then suddenly you're reading this article and you're thinking, shit, man, how much does a piano weigh? Because I did removals for a bit as well back in the day. When I was on leave, I'd sometimes do a bit of removals for my mate's dad's removal company.
I bet you were their best asset.
Yeah. Oh, he loved it. It was great. It was
fridges on your head.
Why don't we actually move the piano? And I remember thinking, fuck, man, this piano's heavy.
Yeah.
Me and my mate's dad, we moved it. And fuck, that's heavy. So I thought, this guy's obviously someone carried it on his back. And then I thought, right, I'm going to try something like that one day. Eventually we did it. Yeah.
How long was the preparation for that? From when you were when you decided, right, I'm going to do this, to actual execution? How long was that? Was this something that you decided over a month or two, or was this a long 2-year process? Or
it was about a year from when I started planning and taking action to do it. So I find with me, I get the idea, pops in the head, and then it normally just sits as an idea, sometimes for, well, in this case, years. But then once you start doing the things, like starting putting things in place, contacting people, getting a piano, mentioning it to people, the ball starts rolling then, and it just goes by itself almost. When the case of the piano, it did anyway. But I started my training program then. I got the piano first, make sure I had something, and then I made sure I could actually put it on my back. I had to figure out how to get it, the best way to get it on my back, and how to attach it to my back, stop it from falling off. And then I went, right, I said to my mate Chris, I said, I'm going to try this thing. I got him along with me just in case, like, it crushed me or whatever, because I'd never carried it before, and I didn't know what was going to happen. So I got it on my back, and I said, look, if I could just walk 20 meters, I will know whether I can do this challenge or not. And that was the same I did with the car. It's that initial kind of gauge, feel out, see how it feels. I walked the 20 meters, so I turned to him and I said, yeah, I can definitely do this challenge. I can definitely do it. So what that enabled me to do then was work out where my kind of strength was and how it felt on my back, and then also help me put together a bit of a training program. So I started off just in the gym lifting weights, completely adapting my training. Started doing a little bit of cardio, not too much. Mainly kind of walking up hills. I had this whole thing in place where I was going to do all this amount of weight training. Then I was going to start going up in the hills and doing all this sort of stuff at Pen y Fan and things like that. But then because of COVID, then that all stopped. So we went to the lockdown, the gyms closed, and then we couldn't drive places to go visit. They closed them all down, didn't they? Bradford Beacons, things like that. They had the police up there and
stuck locally, weren't it?
Yeah,
they were policing Pen y Fan, weren't they?
Yeah, the roadblocks and all sorts.
It's crazy because people are stuck at homes. They want to get out. They go for a walk at Pen y Fan where they're not really going to see anyone, but then they're being told to turn back and head home. So how did that affect your training? How did you have to adapt it?
Well, I just shit canned the idea. So I think it got to about, I could see it was happening because it was all over the news, wasn't it? So I thought, I don't think now is an appropriate time to decide I'm going to do this big charity event.
Yeah, I think there'd be issues with...
Yeah. So like sort of February time, I thought, I can see where this is going. Got the March, and I said, something's going to happen. It's going to come over here now, innit? And then, so I just kind of shit can the idea, and then I just started doing my own training in the lockdown without the gym, so I got a backpack full of weights, go walk in, find a little bit of space, do my circuit training, walk back, and then I realised, hang on a second, I'm training for this. I'm training to carry something on my back here. So inadvertently, I was getting stronger and stronger and stronger at carrying these weights because I kept putting more and more weight in the backpack. And eventually I went, right, hang on, I just started walking up hills. That became my leg training then, because I see that was leg training, so I was walk up the hills with the weights, and eventually then it would just be walk up the hill with the weight, maybe do some pull-ups at the top of the hill, or do some bent over rows, shoulder presses, stuff like that. To the point where it became, well, my mode of transport to the workouts then became my workout. So I'd go, right, I'm just going to walk up the hill, but this time I'm going to put 90 kilograms in, and I'll try and get to the top of the hill. And next time 100 kilograms, and so on. I just kept increasing the weight. And it was some tough workouts.
That's like my weight.
Oh God, it was tough. Yeah.
And how far was your commute to work?
To work out.
To work out, yeah.
It would depend. I think it would depend what route I was going. But when I was doing the walking with weights, maybe about 6 kilometers. 6 or 7 kilometers, I think it was, that we were doing. We were doing some steep hills. I remember one point I said to my girlfriend, we went for a walk together. We go for walks together. and I'd have a backpack on.
And she'd be in it.
yeah, probably could fit her in it, actually. But yeah, so we'd walk, and I remember one time I had the 90 kilograms in there, and I just said to her, right, can you go back, get my car?
Oh, really?
And I'll meet you at the top of the hill, because it was just like, I knew I could get to the top of the hill, but I was sitting coming down. It wasn't the type of training I want to be doing anyway. It was coming down, but I always wanted to train going up. But I said, look, meet at the top of the hill, and we'll go up there. But we'd gone the long route round as well, see. So I kind of, I'd say underestimated. I knew it was going to be painful, but there was no kind of places to rest. You can't, if you take the 90 kilogram rucksack off and you try and put it on your back, you can't do it. You need to, because the strap will rip. You can't lift up 90 kilograms with one arm, throw it on your back and pop the arm off.
I think people, they need to appreciate that, because obviously during your 100K, 100 kilometer challenge, where you carried 100 kilometers on your back, you carried 100 kilometers, you carried 100 kilograms on your back over 100 kilometers. Now I came out to support you on for a little bit like that, and you let me feel the weight of the bag, and this is how heavy it is, guys. It was lying in your boot, and I couldn't even lift it up. Like it's that heavy.
Yeah.
So you're quite right. If you rest and take that bag off, and you haven't got the proper supports or shelving, like a little step or something, you ain't putting it back on.
No.
So what kind of pressure did that add to when you're doing this training?
It just made it real painful. It was really painful. It was just pure pain some days. But some days were harder than others. Mm-hmm. And what I was finding was I didn't know, was padding in my rucksack. So it was just something was digging in. And that was the pain sometimes. Not so much the legs or the heart or the lungs. It was the pain digging in, cutting the blood flow off the arms.
Right, okay.
And in the awkward positions you're having to go in and things like that to counterbalance the weight. Because it's different to lifting a weight. Like you think, 90 kilograms, 100 kilograms, whatever. You think you put on a barbell back squat. It's different to that because the load is not so spread out, but it projects off your back a little bit. So it is different to lifting weights in the gym. But yeah, they were quite painful.
Obviously, during endurance events as well, is because it's for so long, because they're for hours. So, for example, one is joggers chafe, So like you could go for a 20-minute run and your shorts wouldn't cause a problem because you're doing it for hours. That little niggle over time gets worse and it can chafe your legs. What kind of chafing were you getting? Were you getting pains? Was anything being highlighted? Because on the piano carry, you had some nasty cuts on your back, if I remember correctly. So what was that from?
That was from just the piano, the wood. There's like wooden grooves on the back of the piano. That was just the weight of them digging in. Yeah. So,
But you had like a little yoga mat, and that did nothing really.
I thought
must have done something.
Well, no, that's why I swapped then, because we had that little support van, didn't we, for that? So I thought of everything. Everything I could think of. I might need a yoga mat at some point, so I just threw that in there. Yeah. I thought maybe do some stretches or whatever. Or if I collapse, wait for the ambulance to come and get me, something warm to lie on. But yeah, it turns out then, so my girlfriend was like, right, you need to put something on the back, a bit of padding. I was like, no, I'm not doing it, because my friend was just, I was talking with my friends about what I could do beforehand. They were saying, would you get a life jacket and stick the life jacket on there for padding? And I was like, I could do. But then in the end, I thought, I'll just chuck the piano on my back, minimal kit. Yeah. I had to do things as hardcore as I can. So my girlfriend was like, yeah, actually, you've got to put something on her back. She wasn't happy with the cuts I was getting. There was blood coming out at one point, I think, wasn't it? So I was like, no. But then she made me do it. So I put this kind of yoga mat on the back, and it just put a bit of padding on there, and it was real nice. But because I was wearing a t-shirt, because it was summer, wasn't it? So I was wearing a t-shirt. If I'd worn maybe a jacket or something, I probably would have had that padding on top. But
now, I've seen you do a few challenges, and you're so... I'd say you're focused, but you're also you're quite jovial. You're not like deadpan focused, blinkers on. You're still talking to people and have a little laugh, but you're not fazed by anything. For example, blood coming out your back because of the piano grazing. How have you built up this approach? Like, how does it not faze you?
It's just the more you do it, like. When I was in the Marines, for example, you'd have to do all these things. You'd have to be non-emotional. Like you weren't allowed to be like grunting or huffing and puffing. You just weren't allowed to do it. And So in the Marines training, that was just all it was. You were just day after day after day after day, just doing tough things, and you just get tougher to it. And like your body gets stronger, your mind gets stronger. Whereas now I can let out a little bit of emotion if I want to. Now, if I want to, like from in the gym or whatever, I'm lifting weights, or maybe do a bit of a grunt or whatever here and there. But in Marines, you're not allowed to do that. So I think it just comes from that. It's just having that and having the sense of humour in the face of adversity, which is a commando kind of part of the commando ethos.
So what's that? The sense of humour in the face of adversity? Yeah.
Yeah, it's when things are shit. You have a laugh about it.
Yeah, there's no point crying about it.
Yeah, well, it gets you through. It gets you through tough times, just having a bit of a laugh about things. And I was always the same when things were tough. You look at your mate and go, "Fuck, this is shit," and you'd have a laugh about it.
Yeah, well, literally, but there's no point in. What's it? You did a really interesting video once about a mindset, and you'll remember this. So you had a circle of things that are outside of your control. And it was a big circle. These are all things outside of your control. And then in the center, there was a small circle and said, these are the things you can control. And you said, I'm paraphrasing, it was something along the lines of, there's no point in worrying about all this that's outside of your control. You may as well just concentrate on the stuff you can control. So I suppose that's the point. If things are going wrong, but they're outside of your control, there is no point in stressing, right? You just focus on what you can do. Have the positive mindset around it. Is that what the video was about? Did I get that right?
That video was about that, yeah. Yeah, it was just about saying, look, there's all these things going on in the world you can't control. Why are you getting stressed out about them? But then you have got these things you can control, which can make things, a little bit better for you, directly and indirectly.
Now, talking of things in your control, you are a meticulous planner when it comes to these challenges. So when I helped you with the piano challenge, before I started, you sent me over a little manifesto.
Yeah.
I don't know how many pages it was, like 10, 20 pages or something, of like health and safety, description, equipment, how we're doing it, who's doing it, when we're doing it, if this happens this, if this happens that. Talk to me about that. So where's that come from, this planning, and how does it help? Right,
well, we've gone over the 7 P's, haven't you? Prior preparation planning prevents piss poor performance. So that's something that's come from the Marines as well. You always got a plan, and like you go on an operation, there'd always be a plan. There'd always be actions on. There'd always be contingencies. There'd always be, if something happens, you do this. If that happens, you do this. If this happens, you do that. So I think it kind of stemmed from that. But then I had forgotten about that because I left the Marines in 2009. I'd forgotten about all that. I went off and I became a civilian. I started doing all security and all these other things I was doing, and working in gyms and stuff like that. So I just forgot all that. And then I started doing the challenges. So my first challenge then was the triple challenge. I didn't train for it at all. I just went, some guy on YouTube just basically challenged me and said, I said, what video should I make next? So I do 1,000 pull-ups. So I do carry 200 pounds up the highest mountain in the area in the southern UK. Or shall I do the parachute regiment 10-mile run? I think it was a 10-mile run.
Paris 10
miles, carrying 55 pounds or something like that. And so we just went, yeah, let's do all of them.
It was me.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, fuck off.
Yeah.
I remember the comment popped up and I fuck off.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went in the shower then and I was washing my hair and all that. And
No, what hair?
Oh, you know I'm lying. No, okay. Scrubbing my back, lathering myself up.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh, fuck it, just do it. Just give it a go. Do these 3 challenges. Raise some money for charity because it was the first time I'd really done a charity challenge. I ran a half marathon some time ago. But it was the first time I'd done a charity challenge for a while. So I thought, I'd raise some money challenge, put myself to my paces. And I just said to him, look, I'm not going to train. So I went online and I said, look, I'm not going to train for it. I'm going to do it on my next day off, which is in like 2 days' time. So I finished work for the day, went home, right, up early in the morning now, and just try to crack all 3.
So with no planning?
No planning, no training, no prepping my food, no prepping my waters, no prepping electrolytes or nothing, no warm kit or whatever. So I just went into the Paris 10 mile to begin with. So I didn't do a great time on that because I wasn't a runner. I did all right. And then I went straight to Penavan, did carry 200 pounds. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so I got home, unpacked my kit, and changed my clothes, I think, because I was sweating so much, and I maybe had a shower. Went straight to Penavan, started hauling the 200 pounds up there, But like that didn't go well because I had the rucksack didn't really fit the weights in. Whereas now I've got a military Bergen that I use to put any kind of weights in. But I just had a civilian pack, so I was trying to pack it in there, and I was like, fuck, I can't fit all these weights in there. And like my warm kit, and my water, and my food. So I was like, okay, what do I take out? So I took my warm kit out. So I didn't have much food on me anyway. I had a Snickers bar or something like that. So I kept that in there. I had my water in there. And then I went up the top with this. And yeah, I regretted it. Because I hadn't planned the routes. I'd never been at Penavan before, so I didn't know where I was going. So that made it more challenging. Then I got back and I didn't have any food prep and started doing 1,000 pull-ups. And yeah, I was just fucked.
How did that affect you? What were you physically drained?
Yeah, just drained. Yeah, and then I got cold on the mountain as well because I didn't have my clothes, my warm clothes on me. Because that's the thing is you're walking so slowly, and it got to the point where I was getting higher up, I had to take more and more breaks, so I'd have to stop, put the pack off, and then your body temperature my body temperature was getting colder and colder and colder. Because when you're doing these kind of challenges and you're really pushing your body to its limit, you need to keep warm. So you might see at the end of races, the runners, they put the silver foil blankets on to retain their heat, because their body essentially goes into shock once they're doing that. So you just got to keep yourself warm when you go into shock. So I wasn't keeping myself warm, so I was just going downhill. I wasn't eating properly. It was well under the amount of calories I should have eaten. I kept hydrated, but my body was going into shock in terms of that, and it was just like, whoa, I hadn't trained for this at all or anything. So it just became a case of just being like, mind over matter. I just got to get it done. I had people stopping me and going, "You okay, mate? You okay?"
You're blue.
Yeah. And I was just like, yeah. Do the charity challenge. And the one guy at the top was really funny because I thought, right, I'm going to get a photo at the top just to make sure no one thinks I've cheated. So I'm going to show them I've got this pack of dumbbells at the top of Penavan. So I dragged it at the top, and then the guy appeared out of nowhere and just went, "Well, that's either a very heavy backpack or you're incredibly weak." Because I was struggling to put it up there. And I was like, "Yeah, it's full of dumbbells." He was like, "Oh, okay," and then walked off.
Yeah. So you've definitely learned your lesson since then.
Well, since then I thought, yeah, look, you can either make these challenges. The challenge stays the same, whatever it is. I call it adding percentages to things, and I write about this in my book as well about what you add percentages to it. There probably is some psychological tactic that some psychologist has coined or whatever, but I just think I've made up. Whereas you just add percentages to things, so you get your challenge, which is 100%, and then you just go, right, okay, if I do this, if I plan my meals properly, I'll add a couple of more percentages to it. If I make sure that my backpack is packed up, in the best way possible, that's going to add a few percentages to it.
Like percentages of chance of completion, or
just
like
percentages to make it easier for me.
Right, to make it easier. Okay.
Yeah, to make it easier for me. Or like if I just wanted to do nothing, then it's going to be super hard. It's going to be 100. So I just say I'll add a little bit more percentage to my to my chance of success. Make sure you got the right boots and stuff like that. Make sure you got some clean, spare socks. These sort of things, like blister control and stuff like that. So say if you've got, like with the 100 kilogram challenge, I found it's my feet that were hurting the most at the end of it. But I was stopping and changing socks regularly. But if I just gone, do you know what? Who cares about my feet? I'll just let myself get blisters. I'll just let myself, they were turning blue, do you know what I mean? From the weight and the heat. And they were getting just so sweaty. The water was coming outside the boots. I've never seen that before. So if I hadn't been changing my socks, then I would have got a mild form of immersion foot, which I don't know if you've ever had immersion foot before, but it makes things very painful. So
is that like a trench foot, or
it's like a mild form of trench foot? Yeah. So you get immersion foot first from being submerged in water for a long period of time. It goes all hard and scaly. Well, after it dries, it gets hard and starts cracking. But beforehand, it goes like a really weird, like bluey.
Lovely.
Yeah, they don't look nice, but it makes every step hurts then. But I could have just been made worse if I just not changed my socks. So it's little things like that. Having those things in place, it does.
Do you know what's funny? It's something so small as well. So you were saying just changing your socks. For example, if we're talking about an endurance run, how something so small as a blister on your heel can stop you in your tracks and put an end to your challenge attempt. And I suppose you've got to have you've got to respect the challenge, and you've got to have it's not intelligence, but I don't know, maybe self-awareness about yourself and how the things around you.
Yeah, I think it comes down to foresight and experience. It comes to just being able to see a problem before it happens. And like things about blisters, I learned that in the Marines about blisters. Like I had some real nasty blisters at the start of recruit training, real bad ones, and I had one about the size of a £2 coin that just ripped off in the first week.
Yeah.
First week of training, so it's like, oh god, I've just started on the first week, and now I've got this massive hole in the back of my foot, which meant everything was painful. Great, but then you need to find ways to manage them. Then you zinc oxide tape. You know where you're gonna get the blister. You're gonna get the blister there, so you just put a bit of zinc oxide tape on there before you go and do your 9-mile speed march or whatever. Then you're gonna mitigate the chance of you getting a blister. You're not 100% gonna stop it, but reduce the likelihood of you getting it, which then makes that a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about that blister then. You just have to worry about keeping yourself hydrated. It's just one less thing to worry about.
Well, exactly. I think, it's control. Control is a big aspect of mental resilience.
Goes back to what we were talking about with the circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Goes back to
what
that.
can you control? And it's those little things. If you can control all the little things around you, they will all add up, like your percentages, to produce this big thing at the end, which is the successful challenge, I guess. That's what it's all about. Yeah. So you used to be a Royal Marine. You are ex-forces and elite forces as well. Talk to me about that. So what age did you go in, and what made you want to join?
Well, so I joined when I was 18. Joined the Marines when I was 18. Well, it was something I always wanted to do. Like, I don't want to sound like a cliche that it was something I always wanted to do, but like when I was a kid, I used to run around with the little army men and the little toy guns and things like that, and I used to imagine that I was out and I was actually a proper soldier. Like, I used to imagine that. And then I remember one day, I was reading the local newspaper. It had some guy, he just completed the Marines training. I don't know how old I was, but I was, was young. I wasn't in my teens. I was probably before my teens. And I remember seeing this in the paper, and they said, "Oh, this guy, he's just done these 30 weeks at the time, and it's the hardest training in NATO or the world or whatever, longest basic military training. Really hard. He's got his green beret." And I remember looking at this photo of him, and I thought, "Oh bloody hell, that looks good." I always think, I'd like to have a stab at something like that when I'm older. And I kind of forgot about that. But I was still, like, when I was out, we go around the local woods and things like that, running around as a kid. I used to imagine then that I was actually out on operations. Even though I was probably like 14 or 15, something like that. I used to imagine I was out there, in the swamps or the jungle or whatever. And then eventually then, I grew up, I started doing other things. And then just one day, it just kind of flipped inside me, just switched. And I was like, do you know what, I'm going to scrap this. I was working in a kitchen as a restaurant. I was just chopping a veg and all that sort of thing. I enjoyed it, but then one day I just went, that flip just went, all right, I'm going to go join the military. I was going to go join the Navy at first. So I thought, because I was working in the kitchen, I enjoyed cooking. I enjoyed the environment, but I thought I can go in the Navy as a chef.
Like Steven Seagal
Under Siege,
Under Siege, yeah.
Maybe that was a factor. I thought it probably was actually.
He's not just a cook.
Yeah, ex-Navy SEAL, wasn't he, or something like that?
He's an ex-Navy SEAL, you idiot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good film, actually.
It's a brilliant
Under
film.
Siege, yeah. So it was that sort of thing. And then I went there to do it, and I remember going into the careers office, and back in those days you had to go to the careers. It wasn't all online. You had to go to the careers office. You had to speak to these people, and there was you didn't have to YouTube. We can go on YouTube and find out about these things. You had to go to this careers office, speak to the people there, and then they maybe give you a leaflet or they might show you a video. And the guy basically said, "Oh, look, come back at this date. We've got you loaded on like an induction sort of thing where we'll give you like a presentation on whatever." So say they had like me going along, wanted to do the chefs. You had other people who wanted to be like stewards or combat engineers or whatever. So they'd have this presentation prepared for everyone who was going to go, who were interested in those things. So I went there at this presentation, and it was when I was doing my own research. I was looking at some of the material they gave me, and I was looking through it, and I saw these photos of the Navy, and I was looking at the photos of the Navy, and I thought, I don't know if that's for me actually. There's a photo of all in New York, and they were like, "Hey," and I was thinking, okay, it looks a bit too. It doesn't look like that's my sort of thing. Like, and then on the other page, and there's a picture of the Marines, and I thought, And it was like, are you tough enough or something like that? 99.99% need not apply. And I was looking at it and thinking, that was what I wanted to do initially. And then I thought, if I went and joined the Navy, I would be on the ship, and I'd be seeing the Marines going off on missions and things like that, and I'd be thinking, fuck man, I wish I was doing that. So then I said to myself, well, why don't you just do that? Fuck the Navy, fuck the chef, all respect to them. But I thought, well, I want to be a Marine. I always want to be a Marine. I can do that. I know I can do that. I know what it takes. So I went to this presentation. I really pissed them off, the petty officer, because he goes, all right, so you want to do this, you want to do that. And I said, sorry, I changed my mind. I want to join the Marines instead.
As you turned up to the presentation?
As I turned up to this presentation, yeah. it was the night before. I decided. I just changed my mind the night before. So I said, I'm actually interested in the Royal Marines now, not the chef's branch. He was not happy.
Was he not?
Because they prepped this presentation.
Really?
And I remember he went off to somebody, he wants to join the Marines now.
He thinks he's better than us.
Well, no, it wasn't that. I think he was just pissed off that he'd done all this prep for me, and then I'd gone and changed my mind. And anyway, so they were like, oh, okay, well, there's no Marines here, so you'll have to come back another time. Oh, I can't remember. I ended up going there, and I spoke to someone another time, and they showed me the video. And that was it really. That was how I ended up joining up there.
So you said Marines selection or training. What would you call it? Pre-training, pre-military training. Is that what it's called? You got selection. You've
got one at the time you had the pre-joining stuff and all your fitness tests, and then you got a 3-day selection course. And then you start recruit training.
That's it, recruit training.
Recruit training, yeah.
How long is recruit training? Because you were saying it's one of the toughest in the world, right? Because it's an elite force.
Yeah. Marines. Commando. So it was 30. I did 33 weeks. There was it was 32 weeks, but they gave us 33 because it was just the way it fell in the year or something, and with all the other troops. It was
supposed to be 32.
They gave us an extra week.
An extra week, fantastic.
So it was good. I remember we got there day one. They said, just it's 32 weeks training, but you're going to do an extra week because we've loaded you up a week. At the time, they were loading troops every week, recruit troops every 2 weeks. Sorry, we'll go through every 2 weeks. It was something to do with Easter leave or something like that. So the troop that was before me. The first 2 weeks is called foundation. So the troop that was before me, they only had a week in foundation because then instead of it being 2 weeks gaps, we came in a week behind them. So we were a week behind them in training instead of the 2. So then we ended up doing the 2 weeks in foundation and then an extra week after that. Then.
And so, what were your expectations going in it? How did it meet those expectations, or did it surpass them? And how did you change? Were you a different person at the end of it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it changes you. It also changes you. You go, you're doing stuff which you would never do unless you've joined the military. So you turn from a civilian into a military. You are a different person. They mold you to be what they want you to be, and it is.
And what sort of stuff were you doing in the training? Come on, this is the toughest training.
Yeah. Well,
what was a typical day or week?
I mean, it's difficult to say. Every day was different, and it's as a cliche. Every day is different, but it was. Some things were the same. You'd have you start off, but it was all progressive. It wasn't like you go there straight away and you got to go do this, you got to do that. It was all progressive. You start off your 2 weeks. The 2 weeks is foundation. It's just indoctrinating you into becoming a soldier. So you learn how to do your ironing, you learn how to wash, you learn how to shave.
So you really are starting.
They take you at the bottom.
Level. Yeah.
Well, some people aren't taught these things. Some people aren't taught how to wipe their ass. Some people aren't taught it. Their parents don't tell them. So they start you right at the bottom, how you look after yourself. This is how you they actually show you that by one of the guys. They have to strip naked. And they would say, right, so we're going to teach you how to wash. So they would
wash your bits and stuff.
Yeah, wash your balls, wash your ass.
Granted, don't we? That
you
know this stuff.
So they'll actually demonstrate off one of the guys. So if you're unlucky, you're that person who's got to get his kit off in front of 60 other guys.
Oh my God! And you've got to wash in front of everyone.
You've got to wash in front of everyone. Yeah, they'll just select someone. As the corporal will do it. And then he'll go, right, okay, you now, I'll talk you through it, you got to do it.
But do you know what? I bet you that, because I'm guessing this is starting at week 1, right?
It's day 2 or something like that.
It's going to break down all the barriers, maybe get rid of all your anxieties. All right, you're naked, but you're going to think, it can't get much worse than that now.
Yeah, you're just glad it wasn't you. They got picked to strip naked. But yeah. So that's it starts off basic. It starts off with that. How to iron your clothes. They set standards, and you've basically got to pass those standards by the end of the 2 weeks. You got inspections of your room every day, and if you do something wrong, or if your stuff's not in the correct order, you get beasted, punished for it. So the point is then that by the end of the 2 weeks, you're not getting beasted because you've done everything proper.
You're going to learn. Yeah.
You learn the hard way, and you learn quickly because you think, fuck, I got to do this properly because otherwise, what they can do to me. Yeah. They're going to make my life 10 times harder. So, and all you want to do is sleep. So they might just say, you've got an inspection tonight, or they might make you get your kit all muddy until 10 o'clock at night, and then be like, right, okay, 6 o'clock in the morning now, that needs to be spotless, all that kit needs to be dry. But you haven't got washing machines, you haven't got tumble dryers, so you got to do it all by hand, scrub it by hand, wring it out to dry it, put it up. You got a drying room, which is basically a warm room, it's like a sauna. You put it in there. And just hopefully iron it dry. You're doing all sorts of things to try and get your clothes dry. You're ironing it just as soon as it comes out of the wash to try and get the steam of the iron, or just take the water out. But you try and find all these little shortcuts to try and make life easier for you, just so you get an extra hour's sleep.
Oh, really? It's all about the sleep.
You're so tired. You're like a zombie. You're just walking around tired all the time. It's just, it's all night. Polishing your boots. You got to bull your boots. You don't think about that. It's not all physical. It is, you're just there sometimes to bull your boots to get them how shiny they've got to be. Takes hours and hours and hours of just repeating this movement here with water and a polish. Just little things like that just takes up your time.
It's good prep though, isn't it?
It's good prep. The next day they tell you it's shit, and you're like,
it's these little things. It's these. Some people might feel these are menial tasks, but they're not, because it's self-care, and it's like you were talking about the control. Is that this is going to prevent any problems cropping up later? Even the washing, right? Washing yourself.
Well, yeah,
you could get infections or something.
Well, that's why they do it. Because if you're on operations and when I say your operations, it's not like you haven't just got the hospital you can go to. You can't just go, I've got an infection now. I'll just go back. You're out, away from it all. Do you mean the helicopter was taking you off hours and hours and hours and hours away from the base, dropped you off, and you're there by yourselves, unsupported, for weeks at a time. So you've got to be able to look after yourself. Well, not just that, it's discipline as well. It's discipline, and there's also resilience, because if you imagine then that you've just spent 3 hours bulling your boots, you've had 3 hours sleep, then you get up, and then the corporal comes and looks at it and says, that's fucking shit, and he scrapes all the polish off. I want that better by tomorrow. But, you've got to do your whole working day first. You'll start that again at 8 o'clock at night maybe, to be ready then for 6 o'clock in the morning next day. It disheartens some people. They think, oh, fuck, man, what's the point? I've just spent all night doing that. It wasn't good enough. Is it going to be good enough tomorrow? No, probably not. It's never good enough. You think it's never going to be good enough, and it feels like that. But then you just got to keep doing it and keep doing it and doing it, knowing that you will get better.
Do you reckon that will that must build a resilience and a certain mindset as well? Is that don't take it personally. Be willing to just let things go and start again. I suppose. Did you see people that struggled with that's accepting? But say the corporal said, right, that's rubbish. Let's start again. Did you see anyone struggle, and go, oh, for God's sakes? And
when people are tired.
Yeah.
When people are tired, and and that's the thing, is people are tired, and that's what happens. People flash. That's what we used to call it. They flash. Oh, fuck's sake.
Is that what it's called? So
they flash.
Is it like the flash of anger or something?
Yeah. But it was like, it wasn't a done thing. You weren't allowed to flash. Like, they'd be like, oh, you flash. People like, they'd take the piss out of you, whatever. Like, if it was afterwards, but yeah, you weren't allowed to flash. You couldn't do it, because the idea was you're supposed to be able to keep your cool and.
I suppose it's controlling emotions. I mean, Stoic philosophy talks. One of the main things about Stoic philosophy is controlling your emotions. Now, a lot of people get that. They misinterpret that as not having emotions, and that's why I think sometimes the Stoic philosophy maybe get, say, a bit of bad press, because people assume, oh yeah, you're not allowed to show your emotions, because they talk about a lot with men not being allowed to show their emotions, but it's actually you're allowed to have emotions, but you've got to control them, and you've got to use them for your benefit, and don't let them work against you.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's what the flashing is, isn't it? It's like you've let your emotions get the better of you there, and that. You're doing it now in training, which is relatively safe.
It's a safe environment, yeah.
If you do that out in a dangerous environment, that flash could actually get you in trouble, or worse, it could get people killed, I guess, right? And
well, yeah, that's what it's all about. That's why every single thing they do in a training is for a reason. And like I say, like some guys contact me sometimes and they say, look, they're looking to join or whatever. What's the best thing to do? And I just say, look, listen to what your instructors are telling you. Just listen to them. There's no kind of hack. There's no kind of do this before. And obviously, you work on your fitness and things like that. Obviously, you work on your fitness, but you don't need to go learning all the military skills and things like that. You learn a bit about the Marines, learn a bit about the military, learn a bit of history and things like that. But there's no kind of try and learn all the skills, trying to learn everything, because they're going to teach you that, and everything they do is to make you more disciplined, to make you stronger, to make you a soldier by the end of it. And the program's there for a reason. It gets better and better all the time. They learn off mistakes, and the experience, hopefully should still be there. That they know what they're doing. So I just say to them, look, you just listen to them. Don't try and second guess them. Don't think, oh, they're doing this just because they're being dickheads or whatever. There's always going to be a reason for everything. Always going to be a reason.
Did you find anyone in there with maybe an ego that would have been detriment to their training? You know, perhaps they think they know best rather than the instructors.
I think all them sort of people had egos. You know, you've got a room of 60 guys. You know what I mean? There's gonna be a lot, and everyone there is, you know, they're footballers. They're good footballers. They're people at the top. They're all at the top of the. You know, none of them are like, you know, people down the bottom of. You know, their social circles, they were all like, you know, up quite high, I'd say, you know, in terms of their alphaness or whatever. As they say, alpha males is what they call them these days, weren't they? So everyone was like that kind of thing. So. Like, I was a bit of a grey man, so I was very quiet. I was very kind of just kept myself. You had, you know, some guys who just wanted to swing their dicks around, sort of thing. Like, I mean, you did get that, but you know, they're always put in a place. So,
yeah,
you know, they knew the pecking order was they were right at the bottom. When you're a recruit, you're right at the bottom. I mean, you've got to, and especially when you start as well, you've got to wear a little orange kind of tag on you, so everyone knows that you're. Right at the bottom.
It's like on, you know, when you get those toy guns and they got the orange ends. I suppose it's like that. It's like, this guy ain't dangerous yet. Like he's a toy.
Yeah. So you got that pecking order, Limston. You've got green beret. You know, you're it basically out there. That's what from a recruit's perspective, anyway. But then you wear a little blue beret. You're a recruit. You're a nod. That's what they call you, a nod. So you're nothing. Really, until you've got that green beret.
I'm just going to check my phone, make sure it's still recording.
Okay, I'll have some water.
Yeah, get some water. Yes, we're still recording. Oh, we're still recording. Plenty of battery. Fantastic. So, how long were you in the military, in the Royal Marines?
4.5 years. So yeah,
a big shift. And what year did you leave?
2009.
And what were the reasons why you left? How come you went back into civilian life?
At the time, it felt like good reasons, but they probably weren't that good. I think I just had enough. I get bored of things. So, I mean, really, that probably would have been the ideal career for me because it does move around all the time. It was a multitude of factors, really. I think I was just wanted to go and do other things. Wanted to go do private security. What else did I want to do? Wanted to spend more time with my girlfriend, although ironically we split up. Like around about the same time. And I think as well as they had, you get pinged for a draft. Unless because you've got to specialise. You're only a general duty rifleman for 2 years. At most, sometimes less. But I was quite lucky. I was a general duty rifleman for like 3 years. So I got this extra kind of year. But what happens then is they find these little drafts, like a driver or a signaller, which people don't want to go and do. So they just select you from the pool and they say, right, you're now a driver. Because after 2 years, you're supposed to say, I want to be a sniper. I want to be a driver, I want to be a clerk or whatever, and then you go and do that. But then there's the unpopular drafts, like sniper's always full because everyone wants to be a sniper, so they're always full. They're never pinging people. But then things like driver, people don't join the Marines to be a driver. People don't join the Marines to go and work in the stores. They would join the Marines to be a clerk and work in the office. Do you know what I mean? So these drafts, you get pinged then for that. So I got selected to be a driver and a signaller, both at the same time. Interesting enough. And I was like, oh, I've had enough of this. I'm not doing that. And then I just put my notice in. So,
would you have ever been tempted with special forces tryouts? Did you feel you're on that level, or did you have a desire, or just not interested?
I mean, looking back, it would have been nice to have tried something like that. I think at the time, I don't think I was at that level. But looking back, maybe my fitness probably could have been. I think my fitness could have been. No, I don't know. I think at the time, it didn't feel like that's what I wanted to do. I think I made my decision early on in my career that I was only going to do 4 years. I think it was in the first year. I just went, I don't want to do this forever. I'm going to do this for 4 years and then leave. I think it was just the team I was in, but I went into a real good team then towards the end, and I think I enjoyed it so much. And then people started moving away, and we all got kind of split up. And I think I thought, do you know what? I don't know if I can't be bothered moving around again, because that's how it worked in the Marines. You'd have a team, and then you'd move around. One person leaves, someone else would fill up, and you're constantly moving around. So I think I made my decision early on that no, I don't want to do anything further than what I'm doing now.
Do you know what? People make it a lot of times. It doesn't, whether you're in the army or maybe you've got a job or you're in school, but it is the people around you. You get this team around you, and then when they start drifting away, as teams often do, or say if it was a job, people get other jobs, they move away. That thing that you loved so much, it just loses its appeal a bit, doesn't it? So I can imagine that's how it maybe affected you. It's like, oh, it's not as fun anymore. I ain't got my mates, they drifted off. And
I mean, but that's the thing with the Marines is you can literally meet another Marine and you be best mates like that, which is really weird because just you've got your united by that one thing, which is by the fact you both got the green beret. You can just suddenly be best mates, and then you might never see them again after that. So it's just quite funny because you have real good friends, you make real good friends, and then they'll get a draft somewhere, and then you don't see them again. It's really weird. But when you look at it, but that was normal for me. You look back at it now, and think, oh, that's weird. Probably weird now, but you wouldn't miss them or anything. You're just like, oh, yeah, see you later. Well,
it's just how it works.
But then you bump into them randomly in like a coffee shop in Muscat, in Oman, and you're like, oh, I haven't seen you for 5-6 years. What are you doing here on a beach in Sri Lanka? Do you know what I mean? You're bumping into these random people you haven't seen for years. So this is the way it is. The military's a weird one. The Marines are a weird one in that respect. So you just make friends with people so easily.
Now, obviously, after the Marines came your YouTube channel. So people that don't know, Muscle World Fitness on YouTube, there'll be links below here. Go and check it out. You started a little YouTube channel for fitness challenges, was it not? And then it's now grown into something that's had, was it 5 million views or
9 million, 9.5 million views?
9.5 million people. That's 3 times Wales over population. There's I think 3 million people in Wales. That's 3 Wales countries.
They've watched my ugly mug on camera.
I watched you do push-ups and pull-ups and all this. So how's it going? Are you enjoying it? And how did it come about?
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. I think it's just a fun way of putting ideas that I have to life. So, like sometimes I think about doing these random things, random challenges or whatever, I think I'm quite creative, I guess, in that respect. But YouTube is this platform. I think it's great. It's a platform that you can do that. Whatever you want to do, film it, make a video and put it out there. And what I found as well at the time, was back when I first started, it was like 2014 or 15, something like that, was that I found that if I needed to hire a place or use something or have other people involved or whatever, I would say I was going to try and do this thing. They'd be like, no, it's just weird. Why is he coming to do this? But then as soon as I said, look, I'm trying to do a video for my YouTube channel, oh yeah, it's fine. Come on, come and do it. It's fine. I have some free stuff as well. So it was perfect. It was like it just completely changed the whole dynamic, and it's like people are getting more accepting of the fact that you can. I think people are more accepting these days that you can just go off and do whatever you want. Whereas, like, some of the videos I'm making now, if I put them out 15 years ago, I'd have been called a weirdo, do you know what I mean? But I still am called a weirdo now, so I think it's cool, but I don't want to be normal. But, yeah, I think it's just a way that you can go, right, I got these ideas, and put it down. It's a modern way of writing a book, I think. Because people telling a story, or...
Oh, my Lord.
What happened there?
Microwave. Microphones down. It's fine. We're still recording.
We're back in business?
Yeah, we're back in business. Sorry, guys, if that was loud. I'll sit on it to make sure it don't go anywhere. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so I just think it's like a modern way of writing a book or writing a story when you put the story together or you create something. I think it's all putting a play together, something like that. I think it's just an easy way, an accessible way for anyone to be able to do it. Because all you need is your mobile phone or whatever. I mean, I've upgraded my cameras and my microphones and my lighting and stuff like that, so I can do a full-on professional shoot if I wanted to. But it's just a real easy way and a fun way to do things and have some fun with it.
Did you expect it to get where it is today?
What
were your first expectations going in?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just a format for me to upload things. Like some of my earlier videos I've just deleted anyway, or I put up there for a few weeks and then just changed my mind, deleted it, took it down. So some of my earlier stuff's just not there. And I did experiment with a few different channels, and I made my own channels where I was posting other people's content as well. But that was going back into like 2010, I think, when YouTube first started. And I remember they asked me if I wanted to monetize it. And I was thinking, okay, I could try this, but because I was using third-party content, I thought better of it. So now I'm making my own content and I can monetize it, which is good. So you can make money for doing things you enjoy, which I think is fantastic. Yeah, I never thought it would go that way. I didn't see it in that way. It was different, I think, because now people aspire to be YouTubers now. Like a lot of the younger generation, they actually aspire to do that because they've seen how successful some people are, and YouTube is it's grown massively from where it was, 15 years ago or so. So I think back then it was just, I'll upload it, put it on there. Social media wasn't as big. It wasn't such a thing. But now social media is literally taken over everything. Everything's on social media now.
Everything, yeah. I'll tell you what's scary. I get these reports on my phone. It tells me how long I've been on my phone. I think like averaging like 3 to 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah. But that's the thing is, you sometimes you're being productive on there. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're responding to work emails on there, it's not that you just sat there scrolling through Facebook and you're not being productive in that time.
Yes, I am responding to work emails. Yes, of course, yeah.
Well, it's like, I had a notification from YouTube, and it was like, you've responded to over 10,000 comments or 10,000 comments. And I was like in 1 year, I was like, bloody hell, I must take a long time. Must have taken me a lot of time to type all these messages.
I bet.
But you don't realise until you get that statistic come through at the end of the year, and they say, you responded to these amount of comments. Bloody hell.
No, you've spoken about before in the past, and in our original interview. Do you remember the original interview you did for Rokman back in over a year ago now?
Oh yeah.
Interview.
Yeah.
You spoke about how your YouTube channel was a way of giving your life a bit of focus again. You saying you maybe not in the best fulfilling jobs. The most fulfilling jobs. You weren't there. And you used this as a way to, I suppose, help just give your life a bit of direction again.
Yeah.
Purpose and meaning. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So it's a good. So that's true actually. I think because there was sometimes, and you know what, over the years things have changed, but like I can't remember what specific, if it was a specific time in my life I was referring to when we spoke then. But what springs to mind now is there was a time when I was working in a job that was quite. It was a good job. It wasn't a bad job. But like I would just sit there and work and just think, oh man, I would, like I can't do this for 6 days. We're working 6 days a week, and I was just think, unless there's something at the end of it for me to look forward to, something I can do at the end of it, then that'll make it all worthwhile. So that's what I used to do. Is on my days off, then I'd have something in place. I'd make a video. I'd do this and do a thing or whatever. I'd have something planned, and I'd build up towards it, and I'd have this date set. And then when I was in work, I'd be excited. Then I'd be like, oh, okay, get the end of the week, and I get to do this thing. And then that would happen, and then we go again, the cycle would start again. Right, I'll go do this other thing now. And then that was how a lot of my videos were made initially, was just to give me some kind of purpose, some idea of doing stuff. Because otherwise I just go crazy. I don't think that's how it initially started. I think I think that's also how it initially started as well, was I wanted to go and do things before, but that's just an instant that sprung to mind then that's quite, fresh in my memory. But yeah, so I think that was very helpful in that respect.
Do you know what? I see that with so many people, and it happened to me previously. I mean, we touched on this in our first interview that we didn't record. But after leaving school, I got a job. It was as an adult, that's my first job. Not school, sorry, after university, so 21, 22. You get a job and you join the rat race, right?
Yeah.
You're now an adult. I had a desk job, 9 to 5. And like you, it's like you yearn for something more. I think as a human, we're not built to be at these desks 9 to 5, 8 to 9 hours a day, longer for some people. Sedentary lifestyles, we're not built for it. So like you, I was looking forward to the weekend. But unlike you, I was eating shit, eating pizzas, getting the curry in. That was how I was looking forward to the week. That was how I was giving my life a bit of enjoyment, going out, drinking, smoking. And after a number of years, I think it was in total, let me think, probably about 6 or 7 years of doing that. That was what my life was. I was living for the weekend, they call it. I got myself into a pretty bad place, actually, physically. And it did, I think we mentioned this last time, is that I don't think I was suffering, I didn't at the time think my mental well-being was suffering, but it's only in hindsight, looking back, that it was really affected by this lifestyle that I created for myself. And I see this with so many people, like they get stuck, and they think these little pleasures are the way out of it. They think they're confusing pleasure with happiness. They are. So they are abusing these vices, these pleasure-inducing vices, these alcohol, drugs or smoking. And then they get worse. And then to mask that, they'll do some more, and they get in such a vicious cycle. A similar thing happened to me, and it wasn't until like I had a moment where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I was really.
Well, how did you get out of it? Like what did you do to get up?
Well, it's I can't remember the exact moment, but it was basically around looking at myself in the mirror and going, "What the hell is this?" Like,
Did you put a lot of weight or something?
Oh
or?
yeah, I was tipping over 100 kilos.
Bloody hell!
Do you know what? The one thing that sticks in my head is that my hair looked greasy.
Yeah.
My hair always looked greasy, even if I washed it. My skin always looked greasy, even if I washed it. And I remember it. Yeah, and one of the main things, one of the biggest down days I ever had was on a Valentine's Day. And of course, all your mates are out with their girlfriends and stuff like that. And because I've lived this life for 6 years, partying and eating crap all the time, and got myself in a bad shape, I didn't have anyone, right? And it's you then feel lonely and worthless. And people go through this every day. You know, they're stuck in this cycle. They got a mundane job. They abuse their bodies. They get physically unfit and unwell mentally. And then they've got a mundane job, and then they abuse their bodies. They get even worse, and it's the cycle again. And your mental health is going to suffer. And I remember it was pretty much on that Valentine's Day, actually. I was like, I got to do something about this. And I realized I hadn't achieved anything. Before getting stuck in that cycle, I was always working towards something. I've done a few challenges in my time.
You're in university as well?
In university.
So when you're in an institution like that, you're going somewhere. You've got to get your degree at the end of it, aren't you?
It doesn't feel like that when you're in it, though.
No,
because I was going through. I used university. I was going through the motions of university to live the university lifestyle of going out.
Yeah.
That's how I picture it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did well. Don't get me wrong, but it was always, let's get this work done so I can go out.
Yeah.
It was never about the work. It was about going out and socialize. I'm a people person.
Yeah.
But I'll hand over now. But it's like I had that moment. I had that click, and so I decided, right, I got to do something. So I picked the most intimidating challenge possible I could think of, which was a boxing fight. And I saw a poster for a white collar boxing, and I was like, right, I'm doing it. I'm signing up. I've always wanted to box. I dabbled a little bit when I was younger. I always wanted to fight. You know, it's about. I've always just wanted to know, you know, can I do it? Probably like you with your piano challenge and stuff. It's like, I want to know if I can do it. I don't want to like think about it. I want to know. So I did that, trained for 3 months non-stop, like 6 days a week, 7 actually, most weeks. I shifted 3 stone in 3 months.
It's a good effort.
I've never been as fit as I ever like this.
How old were you then?
29.
29.
Yeah. So quite late in life. And I felt just so much happier and within myself. My confidence was through the roof. My self-belief was through the roof. It just applying yourself to a goal and fitness. It all revolves around fitness and activity for me. If I'm not working towards a goal, I am going to stagnate. I'm going to weaken. And I think everyone needs to do this. I know there's people. There are people out there that go like, just because it works for you, it doesn't work for me. I don't want to do fitness. I don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah, but you don't have to go to the gym. You can go for a walk. It's still exercise. It's still your body needs to move. It needs to. And when you don't move, it starts having all these problems. So even just going for a walk, going for a swim, playing a sport or whatever.
I suppose that's it. You've physically got to move forward. And you've mentally got to move forward. So that's why you get the perfect combination when you aim, rather than just going to the gym. When you have a challenge to aim for, what is it? It's not even a challenge. It's a specific target. That's it, and that's what a challenge is, isn't it? You have a specific target. When you have that, you just build momentum. Your life builds momentum, and it's so important.
Usually that thing to aim for. Everyone wants to know, Terry, how did you get on with your fight?
Well, of course I won.
Yeah. Would you do it again?
Would I do it again? I did do it again. After that, I had a bit of time out, and then I signed up again. And this is a funny topic that maybe we could discuss. But like the second time around, it didn't feel the same.
Okay.
So I think because the first time around was so important. I wasn't just having a boxing fight. It was saving my life. I knew where my life was heading if that was continuing down the path. That's what I mean. Like, I don't think I suffered from mentally, I didn't have a mental illness or anything like that, but I could see where it was going.
Yeah.
If it continued, I could see where it's going.
Like, this is the path. I'm walking down here. I got a crossroad.
Yeah.
Do I continue on this path, or do I
exactly
take this other route?
The purpose and meaning behind that training was so much greater because it was turning my life around. It was it was saving my life. The second time around, it wasn't like that. Have you ever heard that problem, that thing about boxing champions? So when you become the champion, you're hungry, right?
Yeah.
And then when you're at the top, there's a saying, something like, they don't last long, usually, champions. If you get a long-running champion at the top, that's very rare. But they look at Anthony Joshua. Andy Ruiz knocked him out, when he was at the top. He underestimated him, thought he was a fatty. And there's a saying, it's very difficult to get out for a run at 4 a.m. when you're sleeping in a bed with silk sheets. And I think that's it, because you lose the hunger. He's achieved it, right? And that was the similar story with me, is that I'd achieved my goal. And the second time around, I wasn't as hungry. In the end, it didn't happen. My opponent didn't turn up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no. So I did the full training camp.
He must have seen you fight from the last one.
He must have seen me. And the funny thing is, the promoters were like, right, well, we've got this guy here. This is all white collar, by the way. This isn't like amateur. It's not even amateur, because you've got white collar as the very bottom, then amateur, then pro. So this is really at the bottom. I am not Mike Tyson.
So you're not going to be fighting Anthony Joshua anytime soon? Are you pay-per-view?
No. Well, I don't know. Is he any good now? He's been knocked out, isn't it? Maybe I fancy my chances.
You cut him out on here if you want.
Me and you, Joshua. But so have you ever had that? So when, you do the challenges, you have one that you're hungry for. Have you ever had a challenge where you set yourself one, but maybe your heart's not in it? And if it is, what would you do what keeps you motivated when you're not motivated?
That's a real tough question, that. No, I don't think that I can recall I've ever gone, I'm going to do this challenge, and then not done it. Like, I've had ideas, like I may have said to someone, I wouldn't mind doing this. But then I'm very reluctant to put a time scale on things. Because I don't want to be this person who goes, I'm going to do this thing next year, maybe the year after. And then it fizzles out. Like, I like to put the pressure on it. So, like, when I did the car marathon, I went, right, I can do the car marathon in 13 days' time. So I was like, right, this is it now. It's got the date in front of me. I'm going to train for it. But it gives you that focus then. So I would rather have a date that's closer to me, because that gives you more motivation then. If you're training for a goal in 1 or 2 years' time, it takes a lot of discipline to be able to say, right, I'm going to train it, make sure I'm going to hit every single session now in the next 2 years. So easy to go, it's not till 2 years, I'll make up for it next week, I'll do it a little bit harder in the gym next week. But when you've got 13 days to do the challenge, you need every single session to count. You need every single session, because if you start missing them for whatever reason, then you're only going to, it's only going to go one way, really. It's just going to make it more difficult for yourself, or you're not going to perform as well as you could do. So, no, I don't think so. I think I'm very kind of aware that when I am going to do something, I'll make sure that everything's in place before I say I'm going to go and do it. And I don't like to be this type of person that sits around talking about what I want to do. I think you get those type of people, they'll spend all day talking about how they want to do this thing, or what they want to do, or they want to get fit, but they can't because of whatever reason, or they tried to lose weight, they tried the diet, and it didn't want working for them. So they've been losing weight for the last 15 years, and their weight stayed the same. These sort of people, like. But I'm very much, if I say I'm going to lose weight, I want to lose weight, or I want to run a marathon, or whatever my goal is at the time, I'll do it. I will make sure I do it. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to do it because I'm going to do it. So that's the way I see it.
Well, I've got a personal quote which I say is, "You won't do it unless you do it."
Yeah.
It sounds so stupid and simple, but it's true. So many people. I know so many people. Oh, I'd love to run a marathon.
Do it.
Nothing's stopping you.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just commit.
Yeah, just get it done. That's my saying. Just get it done.
It's interesting you're saying about, like, say you've got a challenge in 2 years' time. I think sometimes, I think that's half the reason why some people are put off by big challenges, because they're so intimidating when you step back and look at them. But if you break it down, so say you have your 13-day thing, if you break a 4-month training camp into one, how many 4 months? 16-week chunks. So each week is a target. So you don't look at the end target. You look at just Sunday, right? It's Monday today. Let's just aim for Sunday. What do we want to achieve in this week? That's maybe a good strategy of longevity to your training, then keeping you focused. Do you think? Do you do that?
Yeah, no, 100% with that. And if you imagine you want to run a marathon, for example, you just started running. Like, I can't run at all. You just started running, run a mile or something. You want to do the London Marathon next year or whatever, get it booked. You can get a space, obviously. Yeah. But then in the meantime, you could set yourself, a park run. Or you could set yourself a 5K or a 10K. You're enjoying these races, because then you can train for that 5K. Do your 5K. Once you've done your 5K, maybe do another 5K in a month or two's time. Do that 5K and then go, right, okay, let's do a 10K in 2 months' time. So you're training for that 10K, and that gets you fit there. And the next thing you know, the years passed, you've done all these races, you've got all this experience, you've got all this fitness.
And you're towing an 18-ton truck.
Yeah.
That's where it goes. That's where it heads. I'm interested, Max. What's been your hardest challenge? Maybe not like the hardest challenge in general, but maybe like what's been the hardest moment within a challenge that you've had to overcome, and how did you overcome it? Has there been a time where you've been like, oh my God, I am in deep shit here? Or
well, I mean, that first one, like I mentioned, the triple challenge, there was a few moments where I was like, what the fuck, why haven't I done this? But I was annoyed at myself. I mean, it wasn't a case of me going, oh, I can't do this. I was annoyed at myself. I knew better. I should have known to prepare better. So I was annoyed at myself in that respect. I think I'd overestimate my fitness. I think I still thought my fitness was what it was in the Marines, where like you don't realize how fit you are because you're doing it all the time. And then it's only when like, you end up working with the US Marines or something and you realize, oh, hang on a second, we're actually a lot fitter than these guys. But it's only because you're so used to being fit. Everyone around you is fit. But then you kind of stage in your head then, you go and do these things. You still think you can do them 10 years later when you haven't done any training whatsoever. You haven't done any running for 10 years. You still think you can run like you could 10 years ago. So I think that was the one time that I thought, what am I doing? There was no point where I thought like I'm out of my depth or anything like that. I knew during the challenges, before the piano carry, I had a bit of nerves beforehand, should we say. So I think the carpool marathon I did, and that got quite a lot of attention as well, but I had there was no pressure in front of that, because I just said one day, I'm going to do it. I put it on Facebook. I told my friends, I told people, and people were going, you're not going to be able to do that. We talk about no one's done that. But loads of people have done it now. I know a few people who've done it in the last sort of year. But at the time, not many people. I think Ross Edgley had done it before me. But people say, no, you're not going to be able to do it, Max. Why are you going to do that? What's the point in doing that? You're not going to be able to do that. It's impossible.
Cheers for the support.
Yeah, but then then I say, well, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, fuels you.
Yeah, so I say, look, I tell you what, if I do this, I want you to do 250 burpees.
Yeah.
When I next see you after the event. I'd say stuff like that back to him. Or I'd say, I'm going to do it now just to prove you wrong. But there was no kind of pressure. But then when the piano carry came, what happened was the media got hold of it, and they were like, oh, this guy's going to do it. He's ex-Marine. He pulled a car for 26 miles last year. He's awesome. He's going to do all this stuff. And I was thinking, oh, fuck. Do you mean, you get that kind of imposter syndrome that they talk about where you think, fuck, am I that person? Am I going to be able to do it? What if I go up there and I snap my leg? I'm going to look like a right fool. What if I get halfway up and I just can't do it or whatever? And I think, because there was a few things that were just not in my favour at the time. With hours, I was working real long hours. I was tired all the time. I was trying to train. I had a Achilles tendon injury, which flared up before. I had a real bad cold as well. So I was just not at my peak performance at all at that point, and I was just struggling to recover from that. So I remember in the morning, I was like, in the day before, I was thinking, oh fuck man, what am I doing? Do I postpone it? I wanted to postpone it. I wanted to do it another time, but I knew that was the only time we could do it. It was the only time I had the time off. I had other people come in to support, and then they were off at the same time, I knew that because of COVID as well, that new restrictions were going to be coming back in place in a few months' time because of the way it was going, or a few weeks' time, the way it was going. The weather was good. So that was the other factor. The weather was good, so I had to do it on this day. If I pushed any late there, it would have been winter. It could have been raining. The piano could have filled up with water. I could have slipped. It could have been icy. So all these things I needed to be done that day. So I was sitting there thinking, oh shit, man, what am I doing? I'm going to fuck this up. So I think the pressure kind of got me a bit there. I wasn't used to dealing with that kind of pressure for these challenges, for these external people saying he's going to do it. Nobody's going, you're not going to be able to do it, Max. They were all going, you're going to do it. And I was thinking, oh shit, okay, they've changed now. I don't have to prove them wrong. Yeah. I need to meet their expectations now rather than, it was before there was no expectation of me. So yeah, I just basically had to go and have a word with myself.
What was that word?
I just took myself into the bathroom by myself, and I just used to think, like, when I was training for the car marathon, I used to go in the bath every day after my sessions in a cold ice bath. So I'd fill the bath with water, there was ice in there, and I just sit in there for 10, 15 minutes, and I just think, and I just kind of go away from it all, like, and sometimes I'll just go back to that in my head, and I'll just, like, even though I'm not in the cold bath, like, I don't need the cold bath anymore, but I'll think I'm in the cold bath. So in my head, I'm in the cold bath. So you just sort of sit there or whatever, and I'd be like, right, okay, remember the cold baths. Remember how cold, remember you're sitting there, remember how clear your mind was, how focused you were at the time. I'd say things to myself like that or whatever. You've got to go do it, you're going to go do it. You said you're going to do it, you're going to do it. All you got to do is put the piano on your back, just walk, and you're going to be fine. So I did that, thought about the cold bath. I don't think I had a cold bath that morning, because I think I didn't want my muscles to be cold. But what I did do was I got up there and I did a lot of foam rolling on my Achilles, on my calf, just to make sure that area was lots of nice and warmed up and mobile, so they wouldn't aggravate on the walk. And then I was like, right, okay, let's go. Time came then, and we met you at like 6 o'clock in the morning or something, wasn't it? Mm. So it got to that point. I was like, right, okay, let's go on Facebook Live, or not Facebook Live, Instagram Live or whatever it was.
One of those
just say,
socials.
say, look, I'm on my way now to go and do it. So that was it then. And as soon as I'd had that word myself and I started the process of the foam rolling and of the getting ready, then that doubt had gone. There was no doubt in my mind then that I was going to do it, because I was saying to myself, like, you've already been there, because in my head prior to that I had walked up there beforehand. But then the doubts started coming in, because we did a recce way back when I was looking at different areas to do, because I was thinking about Pedavan originally, I was thinking about Snowdon, I was thinking about Garth, and we did the Garth, but we didn't have permission to do Pedavan because I spoke to the National Trust and they wanted a lot of insurances, they wanted guarantees I wouldn't damage the path and things like that. And I thought as well, it's going to be very busy. I didn't want to hurt anyone by dropping a piano on them.
No, it's certainly not.
Yeah. No. So I went with the quieter of the options and the easiest one, the closest one at the time.
And we did have travel restrictions at the end of the day.
And there were travel restrictions at the time, which we got to remember that there was that time of the year as well. So I thought, well, what am I going to do, wait until next year? I thought, no, I'm going to go do it now. I'm ready now. And I remember saying to myself, look, there's nobody else in the world right now is, I don't think they're capable, other people would be capable of doing it, but I was the most prepared of any person in the world at that point in time to carry a piano on my back up a mountain, because I was there, and that was kind of a empowering feeling for me, because I was thinking, okay, yeah, you're probably you're the best place to be able to do this, so just what's stopping you? Go and do it.
Do you know what? I've got two things from you talking about there. One, you're human, because I think a lot of people might look at you and think you're some sort of Terminator in the future to exterminate, to just tow vehicles all day and stuff, and lift heavy objects. But like you do have these insecurities, these vulnerabilities, and I think that's good for other people to hear and see. So when they're feeling them, they're not going to feel like it's just them that feel them. Even Big Max Glover has these issues, So,
well, that's the thing, is everything went well, so I built up my training, so I had a good foundation. But then the month before the challenge, or the 3 weeks before, I had in my head, I'm going to do X, Y, Z to be perfect. But because of those things I mentioned, being ill and just not being able to shake it, and the training was intense, so the last thing you want to do when you're really ill is intense training, because you can just make your body worse. And an injury that kept flaring up. So I didn't do that XYZ training program I had in my mind. So because I wasn't perfect where I wanted to be perfect, to have this super strength that I was going to take this piano up the mountain, because I would have done all this ridiculous hard training. I had this plan, I had a hill that I was going to walk up every single day. I was going to start off with like 130 kilograms. I was like, what the hell? Then I'd put an extra 5 kilograms on each day for 3 weeks so that I would surpass the weight of the piano. And I call that accelerating training. I don't know if there's an actual word for it, but I call it accelerated training, where you train with something heavier than what you're going to use for the test. So I did it with a car. I had weights in the car when I was training, so that when I did the test, I took all the weights out. I took the spare wheel out. I just had the car and the driver.
Train hard, play easy.
Yeah. So then when I pulled it, I thought, that feels easier. So I wanted to do that with the piano as well, but I didn't do that. Because I didn't do that, the training wasn't perfect. So then the doubt came in. But then, you just got to quell it then and realize, no, just because it's not perfect, you've still done all these other things. You've still done all this training beforehand. You're ready mentally. You've got the support in place. You've done all the preparation. So, but I was thinking I defeated myself almost the day before, because we did this. So we did the recce's before. We went up there the day before the event just to kind of just do a double check on things, so I could plan where I was gonna. I could plan it again in my head, and I was like, "Fuck, this looks steep." I was like, "This wasn't this steep last time."
No.
Because then there was that initial kind of thought was to do it. Do you remember the last bend where we went up, where we stopped the wagon
on the road?
The support wagon was as far as I could go. I'd said to my girlfriend, maybe we'll just do it here. We'll drive it here. We'll drive the piano as far as the road will take us, and then I'll just carry it up here, up to the summit from there.
That? No.
Yeah, we discussed
Max.
it. We discussed it, and I was
Terrible.
like, "Fuck!" I was talking myself out of it. I was like, because the initial plan was to start off at the bottom by the pub, or where we could get somewhere we could get the van parked in on the main road. Without blocking, because I told the police as well. I said, "Look, this is going to happen. You might get some calls. There might be a guy walking up the street. I didn't want to obstruct the highway or whatever, because I know it all works. You don't want to do challenges. You don't want to affect the environment. You don't want to affect other people. You don't want to affect the highways and things like that will cause danger or anything to anyone else or annoyance to anyone else." So I know some people don't care about that, but I really care about that. I don't want to hurt the environment or any other people want to do my challenges. But some people, they get so focused on, I'm going to do this challenge, that they sometimes forget that, I think. Whereas I was very much like, I want to make sure that nobody else gets affected by what I'm doing. If I injure myself, it's fine, but I don't want anyone else getting affected, or the environment. I can't damage the mountain.
It's self-awareness.
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for the mountain, see, because there's a lot of people saying to me, "Oh, you didn't leave it up there, it's fly tipping." I'm like, no, we took it down. It's not still up there. We took it down straight away.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in my head the day before, I was like, oh man, so that was all that self-doubt was there, see, the day before. And then in the morning, I was like, no, you can't do that. You've got to do it from the bottom, as the plan said. Why you can't do that? And I'm so glad I talked myself out of that. When I say it was only an idea, it was just like, this idea popped into my head. Just to, the brain tries to make things easier.
It does. It's funny because obviously you are this meticulous planner.
Yeah.
And then when you saw these things going wrong to your plan, it's almost like I'll call it a panic. Or you've gone, oh my God, I'm ill. It's all out of control. Yeah. But what you did, because obviously planning takes the sting out of a challenge, doesn't it? Because you know it's like you've taken what makes it intimidating and the unknown, and you've made it known. Yeah. So the power is in your hands. And then when it's crumbling around you,
the plan's crumbling. Yeah.
You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But I like what you said. You just took it back to basics. You said, all I've got to do is put a piano on my back and take steps forward. And I think that's it. And you're doing your foam rolling. So when you are maybe getting overwhelmed by what's in front of you, it's important just to take it back to basics. Tyson Fury has a good saying, because they quite often big fighters up. They're like, you're fighting this guy. He's 2-time heavyweight champion. He's knocked out all his opponents. They build him up as some sort of superhero. Yeah. And he goes, he's just a guy with 2 arms with gloves on.
Yeah,
like, he's just
humanizes him.
Yeah, he's a human. And I think that's it. You've just got to, just bring yourself, ground yourself with the challenge, and take it back to basics. Yeah, so well done. That's how you do it.
It's like Rocky 4, that, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. I think we've pretty much got through all the questions already, Max. Like this, I think it's been a cracking chat. We've been going at it for I think about an hour and a half.
Bloody hell. Time flies,
It's flying by. But before, I've got member questions. Then I want to talk about what's next. And then we're going to quickly go on to the Rokman Plus section, which is for our Rokman Plus members, an exclusive bit for them. And we'll talk about training, nutrition, and supplementation for 20 minutes or something like that.
Sounds good.
So members' questions. It was 2 members' questions. One is from Bob Thomas. It's the ultra endurance athlete who's just coming on board with Rokman actually soon.
Oh, fantastic.
He recently towed his drum kit 100 miles from Cardiff to Pembroke, and he has said, him with his drum kit, you with a piano, do you fancy a race?
Are we towing it or are we carrying it?
You carry it, he tows it.
Give it a go.
Yeah. What would be the distance? Is there a happy meet? So he towed his over 100 miles.
Well, put it this way, I carried my piano over 2 miles. I think maybe I'd have to tow it.
We should have a look at some sort of Top Gear style race. So you both have different paths maybe to take.
Or I can carry it uphill, he can tow his up the hill.
You could do that.
Yeah.
You could do that. All right, it's on. Bob Thomas, we're gonna arrange it now. Second question from Pav, another Rokman athlete, who asks, where do you get your hot-looking ladies from for your challenges?
Yeah, well, they're all professional shoots, so I'll put like a post up, and I say, look, I'm organising a shoot. Anyone who's interested, do you want to come along to it? Give them all the details of what they want to do, and then we go from there, really.
Because they are some very lovely-looking ladies that you have. Well, there we are, Pav. Max can sort you out. He'll sort you out with some contact details. We'll get your birthday party sorted. So, Max, the future. What is next on the horizon? Is there anything next?
Not at the moment. I'm just relaxing a little bit, doing my training. Winter's here now, so I tend to do all my challenges in the summer, just because we get more daylight and the weather's normally a bit nicer.
Better, isn't it? Bit better.
Yeah, just going to try and build up a bit of strength. Maybe put on a bit of muscle as well, because a lot of that's started to go down a little bit because I've been doing more kind of endurance challenges and I've been focusing on those. So just try and put a bit of strength back up. Now I'm back weight training in the gym. Yeah, that's it really. Just we'll keep enjoying life. I think as best I can. I think that's what I try and do. Try and enjoy life as best I can.
Exactly.
Not let things work and stuff like that get in the way.
Yeah, bro. So where can people find you, Max? So I want you to plug everything now. So I want you to plug your YouTube, your socials, and your book and your services as well. Everything.
Right. Okay. So start off then. YouTube's Muscle World. So YouTube Muscle World is my main YouTube channel. I've also got Instagram, muscle.world.fitness, and I got a website, maxglover.com, and I've also got a couple of books out. The one which kind of talks about a lot of the things we talked about today, the challenges, 100 kilograms over 100 kilometers, car marathon, the piano carry. It's all mentioned. I write about how I train for them and a bit about them in my book, Challenge What You Think, Believe What Is Possible, which is available on Amazon. And also, I've got a couple of training programs out. Commando 90 training program, which is people who are looking to get fit to join the Marines or just to get that level of fitness.
Cracking. So, guys, if you enjoyed this interview and you want to hear more after this podcast, we're going to record extra questions exclusively for the Rokman Plus members. If you want to find out how you can sign up to be a Rokman Plus member, there'll be a link below this video, or you can go straight to rokman.co.uk. Other than that, Max, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.